Welcome back. Post race, I already did yesterday the post race of who are the winners and the losers. Today, we're gonna be doing the evaluation of the Grand Prix. Who has which kind of marks? According to my criteria, of course, you can agree or disagree. This is just a subjective. I try to be objective, but subjective. Point of view of who performed how in the Grand Prix, right? So let's start without further ado. Red Bull, I give them a 10. I give them a 10. They had an issue in Verstappen's car, yes, but... Oh my god, what happened to the names? Oh, it's a shadow. Okay. Sorry, it's the first time I'm using this. Anyway, I give them a 10. Mainly because even though the Verstappen's issue in the car, they were the fastest car by far. I mean, you can see the distance despite the safety car between Verstappen, who was the second of the two. No, Perez won the race, Verstappen was second, and Alonso finished almost like 20 seconds behind Verstappen, even with the safety car. What does this mean? I mean, these people are doing their job. You cannot do anything perfectly in life. There is no perfect anything in life. But I mean, they are performing at such a high level. I don't know how the season is going to develop with the penalty they have. But honestly, so far, the season is theirs. People were complaining about the Mercedes dominance between the hybrid era. Red Bull is going to dominate this era as well until there is an engine change and some regulation changes in 2026. So, hats off. Very well done. They have an amazing team. They have an amazing driver, which is Verstappen, who overtook everybody from 15th to 2nd. Helped by the safety car, but anyway, that second position was going to be there. The safety car just helped him to be just 5 seconds away from Perez. But anyway, amazing race for Red Bull. There's nothing wrong with them. You can see already the points with Ferrari. I give them a 4. I give them a 4 because it's a disaster. I mean, I understand that it's only the second race of the season. But I mean, you have the fast driver, which is the driver in the image, Leclerc. And you have the other driver, which right now, I don't know what the hell is wrong with him. He just cannot race with this car. There is no other analysis. If you listen to what Sainz is saying after the race, it just says we don't have the pace. No, you don't have the pace. Leclerc has the pace. He was there on Saturday. You were not. He almost made the pole position. Where was Carlos Sainz? 5th. I mean, how Stroll humiliated Sainz on that corner, on this wide left-hander. It's amazing. For me, it was the overtake of the Grand Prix, if I can be honest. I would give Leclerc a 7 because despite finishing, I think it was 7th, because the team cannot accept the fact that he's the driver number 1 of Ferrari yet. Yes, he doesn't have enough points as Sainz, but come on, 2 races, Leclerc in Bahrain was much faster than Carlos Sainz. And here again, he was faster. He started the race in 12th position. And before the safety car, he was already behind Carlos Sainz. They had to pull Carlos Sainz in to try to, number 1, try to overtake Stroll, which we saw that he retired afterwards anyway. But also to let Charles Leclerc go by with a soft tire, by the way. The soft tire, Leclerc was on track for longer than Carlos Sainz with the medium. What could have happened if the safety car were not brought into the track, as it should have in the first place? I don't know, but I mean, Leclerc was going to be much in front Carlos Sainz. I have zero doubt about this. So I give a 4 to Ferrari because they cannot see that they need to choose the faster driver at the beginning of the season. They will not fight for the championship. But I mean, if you're going to challenge at least Alonso and Aston Martin, you need to try to maximize the points, mate. Honestly, Binotto is gone. Vasseur is here. I understand that Vasseur is still the kind of new guy, but if you don't have this iron fist, let's say, you're not gonna go anywhere. The mistakes are being the same thing. Leclerc, after the pit stop, we saw that this engineer Xavi or whatever his name was told him you need to push to the safety car line to try to overtake Hamilton. When this came too late, Leclerc was complaining. What kind of team does Leclerc have to try to be world champion? Like this Ferrari, I cannot recognize it, honestly. Really bad race. Strategy was horrible. Leclerc, for me, is the only thing that can be saved here. At least from what we can see. Because he had the pace. Sainz didn't. And Ferrari didn't let him go. So, I don't know. Anyway, Mercedes. I give them a 5 because in theory, they are the 4th team. And I say in theory because we know they have a lot of problems. I don't know if they will change the concept of the zero pole or not. Perhaps later races in the middle of the season we might see some changes, or if they will stick with this idea to try to make it work. If they can make it work and it's a revolutionary thing, amazing. But anyway, I give them a 5 because I don't think they did anything special on the race. Right? They were fighting with Alonso in the Aston Martin. Russell was, at least. I give 5 at Hamilton because he finished behind Russell with the medium tires that were going for like 30-something laps, which is a lot. Well, all the other ones were in the hard tire, right? He didn't have the pace. Apparently, he didn't have the right setup, from what he said. He didn't do a bad race, but he didn't either do an amazing race. If he were gonna do something good, he could have overtaken Russell after the safety car with the medium tires and tried to go for Alonso, but it didn't happen. And I give a 7 to Russell because of what happened. I mean, he was there. He qualified P4, if I'm not mistaken, just behind Alonso. We all know that the Mercedes is not the fastest car, even though they improved the straight line speed. They are not the fastest. It looks like the car is kind of difficult to manage, but anyway, it looks like his setup was right, and he was able to stay within the range of Alonso, right? Let's say 5 seconds ish, and because of this penalty thing, he was momentarily in the podium. But anyway, I think he deserves credit for the race he did. Let's go for Aston Martin. We see, I mean, I think more or less this is going to be the thing of the season. Aston Martin has the strategies that Mercedes should have. They have the right paces, the car is good, apparently it's kind of predictable or whatever. Alonso says that he's still trying to learn it. Yeah, it might take some races, but anyway, he's driving it good, he's there in the podium. Of course, Leclerc was not there, but anyway, that's Ferrari's fault. To put his own driver in the graveyard. But anyway, I give a 6 to Alonso because, number one, for someone with his experience to make the mistake Ocon did in Bahrain, after what happened in Bahrain, which was the previous race, it's a rookie mistake. So that is number one. Number two, I don't think he did anything special in this race. I mean, yes, he overtook Perez in the start. He also had the dominant position of the track, right? The first corner was to the left and he was in the left position. So yeah, and after that Perez overtook him and he didn't have any troubles at all. There was nobody trying to overtake. I think Russell tried at some point, but after that, nothing. So Verstappen overtook him, but what was he gonna do? It looks like he let him go because losing time fighting Verstappen was gonna cost him maybe the podium. So smart race, but didn't do anything extraordinary to give him extra points, right? Lance Stroll, for me, that overtake to Sainz on the outside of that corner, wow, hats off. He's kind of there. We don't know his pace because in Bahrain he had the injury on the hands, which he still has more or less a little bit. Don't know how much it's conditioning his driving. I think in this race was much better. He's kind of there with the pace of Alonso, right? 0.2, 0.3, something like that. So I hope in Australia we can see a better thing with Lance Stroll to see where he is. Is he good for F1? But anyway, that overtake to Sainz for me was amazing. So I give him a 7. Let's go to Alpine. right? I like this pink color, by the way. Anyway, Alpine, I give them a 5. I give them a 5 because Bahrain was one story. They were kind of lost, apparently. Here, it's a different track, different conditions, different everything. I was expecting more from Alpine. I was expecting more in Bahrain. I was expecting more here. I am afraid that this is where Alpine is going to be all the season. Lost in the middle of nowhere. They don't have the pace to catch the Ferraris in this case, but in theory it should be the Mercedes. They don't have the pace to catch them, but they don't have anyone to fight them either in the midfield. We saw Bottas in Bahrain, but Bottas here was not there. So they are just there in the middle of cruising from start to finish, right? Maybe they can try to challenge somebody in the start of the race, but after that, what's gonna happen? Nothing. They are gonna get overtaken, perhaps in some race. I don't know. I had much more expectations for Alpine this season, to be honest. Ocon was in front of Gasly, so I give him a 6. And Pierre Gasly, I don't think he did anything special in this Grand Prix, so I give him a 5. McLaren, what can I say about this car, mate? They should be there fighting with the Alpines. They should be there fighting with the Alpines, and they were fighting for such a bad thing. I mean, the qualifying of Norris, he complained that during the race he had some debris coming off somebody's car, which was Oscar Piastri's car, by the way. And some debris went into his car, and then the performance was affected. Something similar to Bottas, I think, that he complained that something on the floor was broken, that's why he didn't have the pace. But still, Norris had really bad season starter. I mean, you saw Bahrain, well, he was really behind, and you see Jeddah, and he's still behind. The qualifying was really bad. Piastri went to Q3, Norris not. And let's not forget, Piastri is the rookie. So Norris is the Ricciardo this season, and Piastri is the Norris of last season. Piastri is the one who is holding McLaren there. Norris isn't. I was expecting Norris to be at least fighting with Piastri. I know Piastri is considered to be a super talent, and hats off to McLaren for taking this guy off Alpine. And I want to see still what he's capable to doing, because in 2 races he had problems. I give him a 6 because he took the car to Q3, and he was there fighting with the Alpines. I mean, looks like this guy is going to be a really good driver for F1. And let's see what's going to happen with Norris. Looks like Norris is in a really bad mood with the car or with the team. I don't know. Like if he gets into this cycle of catch-22 with problem solution, not finding anything, he is going to have a really bad season. And let's see what's going to happen, because if Hamilton gets off Mercedes, in theory Norris should be the driver who would go, or Mercedes would go after. But if you see how he's performing right now, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I give Norris a 2. I don't know if that thing, the debris going to his car, actually affected or not his performance. Looks like kind of, but to what degree, right? Oscar Piastri had his car also damaged, and he managed to do that. He was retained by Norris for I don't know how many laps, because Norris was not able to overtake Logan Sargent. But anyway, I think McLaren will have to wait until Europe to try to solve their issues. So Alfa Romeo, I gave them a 4. I gave them a 4 because I was expecting more from this team, especially after what we saw that Bottas got into the points in Bahrain. Bahrain was one Grand Prix, Jeddah was another Grand Prix, and looks like the Alfa Romeo is going to be similar to what we saw last year. It looks like slow corner racetracks, or let's say it in another way, high-speed racetracks are not the thing for Alfa Romeo. Bottas, according to what he said after the race, he had some debris damaging the floor of his car, the diffuser or something like this, and he lost a lot of pace. Don't know to which degree this is true. Zhou Guanyu, or Guanyu Zhou, however you want to call him. I mean, I cannot compare to what he would have been able to do if Bottas was there, right? Because the way to measure Zhou should be to measure Bottas. If he can surpassed Bottas on track fair and square, then you know that Zhou Guanyu did a very good Grand Prix. I gave him a 5, and I gave Bottas a 4 because I kind of want to believe that he damaged his car and he lost all the pace and everything. I gave Zhou a 5 because of the overtaking he did to, I think it was Logan Sargent actually, from the outside in the first corner. Not in the second corner, the first corner. I think it was a very nice move. He could he have been battling for the points? He said he could have if he had a better start without the safety car. I don't know, but anyway, I gave him a 5 because I think he did a decent Grand Prix with the capabilities of the things, right? Let's go to Haas. I gave him a 6 because in theory Haas should be one of the worst cars of the grid. We saw Hülkenberg getting into Q3, but then during the race pace they were disappeared. Here in a high-speed racetrack, looks like the Haas worked a little bit better, but they do not have this car to try to challenge to get into Q3, right? As Hülkenberg did, for example, in Bahrain, and they did it because Alpine had problems. But anyway, in theory, and I think this is in theory, the Q3 are reserved to Red Bull, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Mercedes, and Alpine. Those should be the top 10 if there are no problems in the races. If any of the other teams can score points, I think it's because one of these 5 teams had a problem. Anyway, they scored points with Magnussen, which he did this dive bombing thing with Yuki Tsunoda, both of them blocking, and snapped the points from Tsunoda, right? So checking where they were, the qualifying, the start of the race, safety car, whatever, and where they got at the end, Hülkenberg was kind of there as well behind Tsunoda. So I give the team a 6 because I think they outperformed themselves. 7 and Magnussen for scoring the point. And Hülkenberg is coming back to the F1, but I was expecting Hülkenberg to be beating Magnussen, to be honest. He did it in Bahrain, but qualifying is one thing and the race is something else. And looks like in the race, at least Magnussen and this one was a little bit better. Let's go to AlphaTauri. Yep. I gave them a 5. In theory, the AlphaTauri with the Williams is the worst car of the grid. Looks like Williams made kind of a big step forward, at least in these couple of races that we have so far. The AlphaTauri, Tsunoda was fighting for the points, thanks to Stroll retiring. And I don't know if the safety car had so much power on it, but anyway, he was there, and he was there for most of the race, fighting for that P10 until Magnussen overtook him. So I'm gonna give him a 7. I'm gonna give him a 7 because I think with this car getting to that point of fighting for that 1 point for this race is a good thing for both AlphaTauri and Tsunoda. AlphaTauri has a 5. I give them a 5 because honestly, the car is not what should be expected of a sister team of Red Bull, right? And De Vries, 2 races so far, I was expecting a lot of him. I was expecting him to destroy Yuki Tsunoda. So I don't know if that speaks not so good so far of Nick De Vries. It's the beginning of the season, yes, it's a new team, new car, and everything new for him. So there should be some kind of, let's say, probation period, right? Compared to Tsunoda, at least. I mean, Tsunoda should be like the measuring bar of De Vries. He should be beating Tsunoda. But anyway, I give him a 5 because I don't think he did a bad race, but he didn't do anything special either. Something similar like Alonso, for example, right? He just drove. I didn't see him battling with anyone. Tsunoda did battle, like he was scoring the point. So anyway, Tsunoda at least is leading the team. Williams, I gave them a 7. I gave them a 7 because I think where they were last season and where they are this season, it's amazing. And it's amazing because both cars are kind of there, at least they're fighting in the pack, you know? This is a high-speed racetrack, and usually Williams with straights is a very good friend. Alex Albon was in front of Logan Sargent, and Logan Sargent was kind of a P13-14. Albon was somewhere there in 12s. Could Albon have scored some points without the safety car or with the safety car? Honestly, I don't know. They were there-ish, but we would have to see until the end of the race what could have happened with Albon. I gave him a 6, both of them. Logan Sargent because he was fighting with the McLarens, which in theory is a faster car, in theory. And Albon, because I mean, in this kind of racetracks, he always does a good job, right? I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in Imola with Albon. In Imola and Baku, these two racetracks I think are going to be amazing for Alexander Albon and the Williams. And yeah, I think they did a very decent race. I don't know if they are over the expectations. I think for me they are. But anyway, let's see how this develops. Perhaps when McLaren solves the problems, we will see where Williams really are. Usually we will see where everybody is after like 4 or 5 races when they go back to Europe, right? So I think Williams are not as last as they were last year, but they are making some improvements. This also could be achieved to Jost Capito, who was fired, because the car that we have now is kind of thanks to the management he had of the team, right? But anyway. And we go to the last thing, which is the stewards, the FIA, however you want to call it. I give them a 4. I give them a 4. I would have given them less, but I gave them a 4. I gave them a 4 because number one, they have consistency with the penalties. They punished Ocon for the grid thing in Bahrain. They punished Alonso for the same thing here. 2 infractions, two issues, same penalty. So far, so good, right? With that, the pit lane thing with the penalty. Ocon, somebody touched the car apparently just a fraction of a second before it was over, and he got another 10-second penalty. Alonso, somebody touched his car, which is the rear jack, which I will talk about in a video tomorrow. Somebody touched his car, right? The rear jack guy, and he got a penalty. But he got a penalty so late on the race. That was just in the safety car. They had so much time to analyze this. They had so much time to tell Russell and Alonso to push, to try to open the gap, just in case. Which he would have needed, by the way. Alonso would have needed that gap. That gap that he didn't have because nobody told him. And Russell got notified at the end of the race that he was pushing like crazy to try to stay in that 5-second gap with Alonso, just in case. Which later was 10 seconds, but anyway. They give him the penalty for touching the car, something that, as I will talk tomorrow, is not allowed. Touching the car is not allowed. The regulation says you're not allowed to work in the car, but apparently in some meeting they agreed that all the teams agreed. It's not something like the FIA imposed. All the teams agreed that touching the car implies working on the car. The rear jack guy touched the car. He didn't lift it. He didn't do anything. He just placed the rear jack touching the car. That should have been a penalty. It was a penalty until Aston Martin complained. They presented some proof, some precedents that touching the car was not this, and they lifted the punishment of the 10 seconds, and Alonso was still P3. We are, like I said before, so far consistency, but suddenly we are not so consistent anymore. I mean, the agreement is kind of clear. Either you write this down and all the teams are very clear, or you don't do it at all. Right? I mean, what the hell? And that is issue number one. The other issue is the safety car. Lance Stroll parked the car in a very safe place behind the barrier, and they pulled out the safety car. I honestly don't know why. There was no oil on the track. There was no debris on the track because of a crash. There was nothing. Lance Stroll was parked in a safe space. Why did they put the safety car out? This is not IndyCar. This is not the USA. I know the F1 is managed by the USA Liberty Media, right? But come on, like the car was in a safe place. You cannot be pulling the safety car out in these kind of situations, right? I mean, I so far I am a little bit disappointed with these kind of actions, and it's not just in this race. It's in recent years. They have this tendency of pulling the safety car at every single thing they can. One thing is, and I agree with this, it's difficult to judge. For example, if there is an accident or something, or a car stops on the side of the road, to see when it's safe and when it's not. Yesterday, Stroll was behind the wall, not next to the wall. It was behind the wall. If there had been a crash in that place, the car, whichever car crashed in that corner, could not have reached Stroll's car because it was behind the wall. Why do you pull the safety car out in these kind of situations? There was nobody at risk. There was nothing at risk. It was ridiculous. This is, by the way, it's manipulating the race. manipulating the race because Alonso got benefited from this, Verstappen got benefited from this, and I don't know which other drivers also got benefited from this. And for example, Leclerc and Sainz and other drivers got the losing side of the coin with this, right? And the other one is the consistency. I mean, if you're not going to be consistent with the penalties and all these things, if you're not going to be able to issue a penalty 5-10 laps after things happened, I'm sorry. I mean, at the beginning, with the start, they were quite fast with Alonso, right? After 2 or 3 laps, they already told him, you have a penalty. Very good. Hats off. That job correctly done. But after, with the pit stop, you already have the proof. It's video, it's there, they had it. And they still took more than 25 laps, actually, to issue the penalty. Took more than 25 laps without notifying anybody about this. So I give them a 4. I give them a 4 because they did things right, but I was very disappointed, especially with the safety car. But anyway, this is my evaluation of the Grand Prix. I don't know if you agree with this or not. If you have any comments, ideas, or whatever in this, please leave it in the comment box. I'm always eager to listen to opinions of the people. And see you tomorrow with my analysis of the FIA. Especially what happened with Aston Martin, but also other stuff.